Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever it is where you are. Welcome to the second episode of the Trip 4 podcast. Yes, we had enough reason to come back, so thank you for those who have been watching so far. Got a couple of comments. That's good. We, didn't expect thousands and thousands of subscribers just yet, but the more we can spread the word, the more you like and subscribe and share, the better it's going to be for us. So please take a moment and just do that right now, right at the outset of the show.
Do the trendy things.
All right, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Mark Ashby. I'm the dad who doesn't know anything about bowling really that's worth knowing. I know the basics of things, but I am here to learn on the Trip 4 podcast.
I'm Trevor Ashby, his son. I bowl on the PBA Tour. Now I have how many events? 3, 4?
You've got several. We're recording this right at the end of February, so
yeah. Make that clear. And yep, I'm the guest that knows a lot about bowling. So, yeah.
The guest? No, this is your show, dude.
I guess so.
So we're in the garage studio here, so to speak. It's a little rainy outside today. Right now, I don't think there's anything happening outside, but if you hear like some, like rumbling sounds later, it's just a downpour, nothing to worry about. This is a brand new garage, no leaks going to happen in the roof. So you seem a little tired today.
Yeah, that is quite the understatement. Not that it's early in the morning, it's that I've been here, there, and everywhere on the road. I think it was, last Friday, so that would have been,
That is the 16th.
Yeah, the 16th. So I drove 7.5 hours to Louisville, Kentucky, to bowl the Bradley Open that we mentioned last episode. And let me tell you, and I said it was going to be hard, let me tell you, it was darn near impossible.
All right. Before we get into all this, though, we have to preface the segment. Let's give them a little teaser here.
Yeah.
But we are ready for the Headpin, segment 1. For the Headpin this week, and if you're new to the show, the idea behind the Trip 4 is that we have 4 segments under a half hour, 20 minutes to 30 minutes every week, depending on how long we want to talk, but make it nice and digestible for everybody. But I think it makes sense to first talk about the events of the past week as we are recording them. I mean, they'll be a little more in the rearview mirror by this point. But you kind of teased it there at the top, so let's talk about Louisville and the Bradley.
Well, the Bradley Open, I heard just from locals and just people that I bowl with, that it was going to be, impossible. So, and impossible in terms of the conditions. They're very tough. They're very, grueling, grinding. You just have to go out there and just, make your spares is all it is and hit the headpin. It's that hard. So, let me just start off by saying my first ball in practice literally barely stayed on the lane and picked off 3 off the right.
His mom and I were watching the YouTube feed. We didn't see him. He wasn't on the live stream, but we were watching other people. They were going back and forth. I guess, I don't know if they had 3 pairs of lanes or what it was, or 3 sets of 4. But it looked like they were ice skating out. Those bowling balls were just like, whee, down the road. It was so, I just knew. I mean, I don't know much about bowling, but I was like, that's got to be a very long, very high volume pattern. Was I right?
Oh, yeah. My very first ball,
I'm so happy I knew.
Yeah, you did. I would say, I mean, we always say, surface is king out here.
More on that later.
Yeah, more on this later. We took a 360 pad, and I hit it with one of my strongest balls in the bag. And let me tell you, that was barely enough to just get it to the headpin. It was very tough and very grinding, and I would suggest it if you really want a challenge out there. But
we talked about that last episode, how you were like, well, I like a challenge on the lanes, although you want it to be a little more playable than this one.
And let me tell you that it was... it only took me 11 games to throw a turkey 3-bagger, whatever, and bowl 200. Like all my other games were like 170, 180. Like I
Right.
just maybe caught a double.
So
here
you
and
had
there.
you were in the morning squad. They had a morning squad and an afternoon squad. So you were the 8:30 or 9 o'clock squad, whatever time it started.
It was 8:30. I
Yeah,
think,
8:30.
yeah.
So that was because we were watching it around 9. Anyway, you the first several games that I saw, because it was a 6-game block, the first at least 3. I don't know if on the live stream they had more than, out of how many bowlers would that have been? Like I don't know, 12, 16 bowlers per, coming through, rotating through. I think I maybe saw about 5 or 6 games that were plus.
It wasn't many.
Not good, and some of them were decent bowlers. It looked to me like there were some folks who, like, they just figured it out. Like Eric Jones, he was the eventual winner, right?
Oh yeah.
Anthony Nyer, I saw, and a few other people were doing. It was like if you got the pattern, you were doing well, and then there was a real big stretch. It was not very close. There was a long distance between the people who were getting it and the people who clearly were not. And for a while there, you were in the not category.
Oh yeah,
you were
definitely
in good company. There were lots of really good bowlers that
There were some very good
bowlers,
bowlers, and I would say like the locals that wanted to just bowl it, and sometimes it's that situation where like the locals, they just kind of want to bowl it. They might just be league bowlers, not necessarily the tournament bowlers. Not saying they're bad, but they're not
it's
as
there
competitive.
and it's convenient. Yeah.
So
might as well give it a shot.
Yeah, and even they were, sometimes shooting 210 to 220, and then there's, and again, that wasn't very common. So like to see that, you're just like, well, wow. I mean, what's happening over here? Are the lanes, playing different? Like, and then obviously we move pairs to, we see transitions and all that. So
it looked to me like
people.
your first couple. I'm trying to remember what your scores were exactly, but excuse me. It seemed to me like you did kind of just hang around that like 170 to 180 range. Or
Yeah,
so.
I don't think I bowled a game the whole
You were
tournament.
not plus in that first block. I know that, and you
Oh,
still
no.
made it through. You still made the cut.
I forgot to mention. The cut number was like minus 180 or 190, and that's like what, like for 6 games, it's like a 170, 80 average.
It's pretty low.
It's pretty low. So, and I went 150 something under, 158, I think, and so I was just like, well, okay. I mean, I knew I was going to be in the number, which is quite flabbergasting, and because usually whenever you go 150 under, you're just like, well, I'm not making it.
It was a smaller squad. They took 50, and I think there were only a little over 60 in the squad.
And that, I'll get into the format here. Like what I like about the format is that like you have 6 games in the morning, and they take like they have the fresh to where like no balls have been thrown, and they're slick as anything. And then the next squad, B squad, they had the burn, whatever was left over. And so they were a bit more scoreable than our first squad because, their ball actually hooked. So the first squad was like 180 under, the second squad was like 130 under. I mean, not too big of a difference, but it does make it. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, it's a difference, but I mean, compared to first and second, I mean, it's
right.
Quite big, but quite
Long
tough.
story short, did not make the next cut after that, but it seems to me
a
like
bowl 200 game that block,
right,
though.
yeah, you did improve as it was going on, which is a good thing. But I think it was the challenge of it seemed like it was at least worth going for that. It's never a bad thing to try something new and challenge yourself because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. As I always like to say to him during his youth career. So now we need to get to the Indiana Classic. Those of you who, I don't know if folks were following the PTQ on Monday the 19th, which incidentally was his brother's 22nd birthday.
Happy belated, by the way.
We need to talk about the first game of this. I've got at least the first 9 frames up here because I'll just put it this way: I was not watching on Lane Talk, as we were using Lane Talk, great app to use if they're the bowling center where
You
you're
get
bowling.
stats and everything.
Yep,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
It's great. Not a sponsor.
So his mother was at work. I was still here at the house, but I was doing I work at home anyway. And his mother texted me the screenshot of his first 9 frames and said, I don't think he's ever had this all happen to him in one game. So let's go like frame by frame here. And
Well,
just
since we have it,
break
might
this
as
down
well.
now that I have it right in front of me here. Okay, so first frame, what happened?
Well, I was throwing. Let me just break it down by saying my ball choice here was something very strong. We were bowling on a 40-foot Don Johnson pattern, higher in volume, but not nearly like the Bradley.
You bowled on that before, though.
Yeah,
Plenty.
I was yeah. I mean, I bowled on it before, and we were at Championship Lanes in Anderson, Indiana, just outside of Indy, and so
Bowling on a pair with Ildemaro Ruiz Jr.
yeah,
So,
great bowler from Venezuela, and I was crossing with Sam DeWitt, who's pretty local up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we've seen him at other out of season events.
Yeah, and Cody Shoemaker, who's from like York, Hanover area. So we got some heavy hitters on the pair, and they were really making it look good. So I was just like, well, with the stronger balls. So I was like, well, I mean, might as well try that.
Yeah,
and,
Cody was definitely killing it from what I could tell.
Oh yeah.
All right.
And
So anyway, first frame.
first frame.
First frame, relatively decent compared to some of what came later.
I was throwing a Harsh Reality, and I crossed over, left a 5-pin. So I'm like, well, okay, right out of the gate, I leave a 5-pin. Thankfully, I spare it. Nobody's hands were up, thank God.
So the first frame of the day.
Yeah, first frame of the day.
Pretty awful.
It's early in the morning. I don't wanna.
All right.
So-
Second frame.
Second frame, I leave I think it was a flat 10. So, and then still throwing the Harsh Reality, and I was just like, well, I mean, I cross over, leave a flat 10. Might think about making a ball switch, even though it's two frames early here. And then what happens? I flag it. I miss it. So I'm just like, well, okay, we go 5-pin and then 9 miss. Now we have to do
First
something.
sign that something might be going wrong. This is
Yeah.
this is what we like to call the game from down below. We'll just say.
Hades.
All right, third frame.
Third frame was a 310. I go high after a ball switch. I went to, I think it was urethane. So I threw the IQ Tour 78U. It hooked a little early. I mean, that's to be expected. It's urethane, and it has more surface on it. Again, more on that later. And then I get just the 3-pin, which was like, it's technically considered a split, but it's not like the hardest split in the world.
Baby splits. Yeah.
Yeah, so like
Look
that
at
and
me
the
throwing
2-7.
out the lingo.
Oh
Baby
yeah,
split.
baby split. Yep, that's what it's called.
That's only because
So-
I hear him talk about it on TV. So.
Oh yeah, baby split.
All right, but okay, so we got 2 opens back to back. So luckily in the fourth frame,
I struck.
yay. Okay.
Big X. So, but here it comes. Here it comes.
Here comes a couple
So
back to
I still in the urethane. It looks pretty good. I went like high flush, dead 10 in the pit, and then after that, so I went pocket 710. So I'm like, okay, that's lucky. I mean, like it's
Unlucky.
yeah, oh, yeah.
I think the opposite of. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm like,
we'll go
yeah,
with
that's great. So pocket 710, I picked the 7-pin, and call it a day. And so the next frame, which would be what, frame 6 there.
Around
so
the 6th frame.
I go high, leave a big 4.
No, you left.
Oh no, I
4-6.
didn't. 4-6.
4-6.
Close enough.
He's getting ahead of himself.
I am getting ahead of myself. I just saw 2 there, and I'm like, oh no. So I left, the 4-6, which is, you have to slide it over so thin. So I just took the count, took the 4-pin, and so now we have what, 74
seventh frame. Yeah, 74 in the
in the
6th.
6th, which
Working on nothing.
working on an open. So no good so far. But frame 7, another X.
Okay, let's start stringing them together, right?
Oh yeah. Then here comes the big 4.
Yep.
So, and I'm still throwing urethane. I mean, even after the 710, I hit the pocket. I mean, I move. Then I should say my my move there off the 710 was, move a little bit further right and try to get it to come into the pocket, and then it just jumped high. But the big 4 there jumped high again. Obviously, I switch balls again. I go to reactive. I think it was a absolute power. So you can tell I'm having trouble here because I just kind of wiped this game from my memory. So, but I have no idea what I was throwing. I think it was the absolute power. I wind up throwing it later, but and I leave what is that?
3-pin.
2-pin.
Or no, 3-pin.
No, it
sorry.
is a 3-pin.
3-pin.
So I spare that. Thankfully, I got a mark on the board, and so my next shot goes. My shot goes high there, so I'm just like, okay, let's make an adjustment. I leave a 2-pin, I think, in the 10th. I mean, we don't have the 10th frame
Yeah,
up
she
here.
texted me before the 10th frame was done.
But I left some spare, and I made it, and then I leave a 2-4-8-10 on the last shot after moving a couple boards to the left.
So, yeah. To start off with, what, a 135?
135.
Okay. At a PBA event, PTQ.
That's no good.
With, what, 7 games? Did you have 6 or 7 for that one?
We had 7.
7, okay. So 7 games for PTQ. At a, outside of a PBA event, you might be able to kind of come back from that. But what were you thinking when that happened?
Just don't do that again. If you want my honest opinion. I was like, just don't do that again, and just make better shots and pick spares.
The thing, I mean, you could easily, and I think in your younger days, you probably would have gotten way more frustrated and almost just given up because, maybe a couple years ago, maybe a little more than that, you definitely had this, like, I just forget it, I have no idea what I'm doing, and then you just...
And then you think, it's game 1. Like we're even though we're kind of down in the dumps here, we're just, we still have plenty of time left. We have 6 games. That's a long time to make it up. And so we shoot, was it 180 something, another 180 something. So, I'm minus 102 after 3. That's 495. So.
But where'd you wind up?
Or 498. Sorry.
Where'd you wind up?
Yeah. So my next couple games were like 220, 230, and then I shoot something in the middle, like a 180 again, and then my last game I know was like in the 240s.
Right.
So I was just thinking, okay, minus 102 to start here. Just after 3 there, there is that thought that goes in the back of your mind. You're just like, well, I'm probably not making it, but you just still want to make, the best. You want to
make it look like you know what you're doing.
You want to make it, yeah. So after that terrible start, we got the wheels back on and got back on the horse.
Right. I mean, you didn't make it through to the next.
No, they only took 11 out of 90, which, is not the greatest ratio, but is what it is.
So, but, I mean, the thing that I guess is worth pointing out that even though you didn't make it there, just keep your head.
Keep your head level.
Right, because you can really get out of the right frame of mind after a game like that, but I'm glad that you didn't.
Yeah, I went like minus 30 after 102 start, so...
Yeah. So it is possible to at least, salvage something out of it, even if you didn't quite get back to plus. You increased and got back to, more like a mid-pack finish than down at the bottom.
Oh, yeah. I was like, out of the 90 there, I was like 88th after game 1, which is kind of crazy. There were a couple lower scores. But, I mean, it
People
was...
having the same...
Yeah, I definitely wasn't the only one that was, fishing for something. And yeah, it's pretty tough.
Well, we'll see what comes by the time this is out. You'll have been doing the Delaware one, but we're running really long in this Headpin segment.
Yes,
but there was a lot to talk about. But we need, since Surface was alluded to, let's tease that a little bit so we can go to the 2-pin segment 2. Okay, for the 2-pin, we have props. So Surface, this is something that, coming into being a bowling parent, no idea about any of this stuff, but I understand kind of its importance. But I still wouldn't mind getting sort of a tutorial here about what exactly is going to happen whenever you put surface on a ball. So please, use your props here.
Obviously, we have the Abralon pads. We have, actually, this one's brand new. I didn't even know. This is a brand new 1,000 pad, 1,000 grit, and a 2,000 grit.
And grit means, like, the higher the number.
The higher the number, the more, I guess, shine that
Right,
you're.
it's finer grit, because that's the way it is with sandpaper. Like.
Well, no, like if you're if you have like I guess the lower the number, the more like surface grit is gonna,
Right.
the less, yeah, the more dull it's gonna be. So, and I'll talk about this thing.
That is not an Abralon pad.
No,
Looks like an eraser from.
it does look like it. Yeah, a magic eraser or something. So we have the Rotogrip Gem here. This is what I used at the Bradley Open. As you can tell, there is no shine on it.
Well, I mean, if you can't, I know that balls are usually shinier than this.
Yeah, it's pretty dull.
It's not very gem-like. You know, gems you think shiny.
Yeah,
and
you
this,
think diamond, shiny.
Yeah, this is
shiny.
certainly not. This, yeah. Anyway,
so
clearly you hit this with some surface, as they say.
yeah, I hit this with a 180 grit. So
Wow.
yeah, and that is almost. Let me just say, this is like almost unheard of. 180 grit, almost unheard of, even on like the really stronger, like even the balls that come out of factory pretty dull. That's pretty unheard of. So I would never recommend using a 180 pad unless you're bowling the Bradley. So because I never have until then. I would occasionally use 360, but never 180. So, but we have the most commonly used pads. We have 1,000 and 2,000. Usually with a 2,000 pad, I guess we would call it breaking the shine off of like something like a pearl, like a real shiny ball that comes out of factory like that. And so we just try to make it hook just that little bit earlier, because sometimes they just want to go too long. But so we just break the shine, and it hooks a little bit earlier, and so we have way better reaction off the shiny balls. And let me tell you it's great. What we do is we go in like circle motions. If you want to do it by hand, there are people that do it by a ball spinner, and I don't have the like a spray bottle with me, but sometimes people use cleaner / water to get it wet, so it gets a little bit more even, I guess. So what we do is we just go in a circle motion like this. Usually it's a little bit quicker than this, but for the sake of time, I'm only going to do a little bit of this. But what we do is we do that, and the ball is now at a 1,000 grit. So
You try to get this sort of where your ball tracks, right? Is that the idea? Like,
some people do that. Yeah, some people. I don't. I usually try to cover the whole ball, but what usually most people do. But there are some people that take Abralon pads and just go like this, and they just go in their track. So and sometimes they'll even do it on their behind, where it just kind of tumbles. Now I'll get talking about this here. This is not an Abralon pad, as we specified, and this is what I actually used at the Bradley. This is, I don't know what grit this is. I'm sure 150.
Yeah, it looks very coarse.
Yeah, it's
compared
very
to the others.
very dull, and I never hit the ball with this, but if you bowl something that is on super high volume, sometimes there are people that go to a Home Depot or a Lowe's or whatever and just, grab actual sandpaper. And it's, I mean, I'm telling you, it's not unheard of. And so what we do, again, do something like this. It's obviously way louder, but and I'll tell you, this is all I heard at the Bradley was just so yeah.
Sandpaper convention, right?
Yeah, and so that's really what surface is. It just wants to make your ball hook a little bit earlier and have a smoother reaction. And for like higher volume conditions, they they tend to work really good. Even on something like pretty low volume stuff, you want it to be, sometimes people want it to just start and stop. Like, I don't personally like that kind of roll, but there are some people out there that do. And I don't know how you do it, but
do you ever surface something that's urethane?
yes.
Okay.
What we
I just didn't
do,
know, because I know those are a little different.
and we don't use this. Let me just throw that away, because that's never used. I just thought it'd be funny. We usually use something. I don't have the grit with me, but it's usually 500 is the most common. So urethane tends to lane shine really quick, and what I mean by that is the oil gets on the ball, and then it just kind of comes back through the ball return, and then it just gets all shiny, and we call it slime. And whenever the oil gets on the ball, sometimes you think, oh, we need more surface, but there are rules that say you can't surface during
Right, which makes sense. Like,
competition.
kind of cheating. If
Yeah.
you would be like, oh, I see something different, I'm going to go over here and
and just
sand
scuff
the
it up.
ball,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden it's working a lot better.
Yeah,
Well,
So I totally agree with that rule.
Mm-hmm.
And so we could surface up to practice and during practice, but once the first ball competition even starts, put them away.
Seems fair.
Yeah.
Okay, that means we are now up to the 3-pin, segment 3. For segment 3, as the rain picks up here, we're back to reviewing a ball. So what SPI product are we talking about this time?
Another global ball, the Xponent Pearl, brand new, released not too long ago. And we're going from one end of the spectrum to the other, from the harsh reality, which is a very strong ball.
As you can tell by harsh.
Yeah, harsh, very harsh, and
It's a great name.
even with the videos that we showed last time, and this time we're at the same bowling center up in Pittsburgh, and I was just in there for a little bit and decided to film, and just regular old house shot, and the Xponent Pearl. Let me tell you, it wants to. It wants to bank off the spot, I guess. So, it wants to get through the fronts a little bit cleaner. It's shiny, as we talked about with Surface, opposed to the harsh reality, which came out of box at like 1,000 grit. So, it was very aggressive. And then this one is other end, wants to be pretty weak and pretty clean through the fronts, wants to get through it, and then has enough pop down lane and has enough continuation through the pins to run over the 8-pin, and it's a great ball. I mean, like I throw it on pretty much every house shot out there, even on some sports shots.
Yeah, like I was going to ask what kind of sports shot makes sense for this.
I would say something along the lines of like maybe that Don Johnson pattern we were talking about.
Did you have that in your bag with you?
I did, but I never used it because different center, obviously. I mean,
Right.
It was, I probably should have used it. I really should have. It was. I mean, I don't know why it didn't cross my mind, but once you get through the fronts, has a nice pop down lane. It's a great ball. I'd go get one today.
Okay. That was quick,
Yeah.
given the fact that our first segment ran a little longer. But, I mean, that's kind of the plan, is you have a head pin. Should be your most important thing.
I don't have a front 10 story about this one, but still, I mean...
You might throw a
I've shot
300 with it someday.
Oh,
and then
I
we
hope
can
so.
come
I
back
mean,
and-
I've come close a few times, but
Yeah.
not out of box.
Alrighty. Well, that brings us to our final segment, the 4-pin. For the 4-pin, this is Q&A, we'll call it. But I have a question here that is kind of, I think, sort of interesting, because you're young, and even though you're more used to seeing the bowlers, current PBA Tour bowlers and WBA Tour bowlers, you still are something of a student of the game. So, would like to know of the classic era bowlers from, let's say, 20th century or maybe even into the 21st century. Is there a bowler that you kind of look to for any particular reason, whether it's style or just, anything about them?
Well, what I look for in any style is like what are they really, really good at, and what are they, not so good at. And I look at something like Pete Weber. Won 10 majors many times on the tour, and his prime was like in the 80s, 90s. So even like his last title was 2010 or 11. So he still had success, but I always look at something like his really soft hand, like whenever he gets, like, he has a nice loose swing, it just kind of comes up and comes down, and not try to like get down here and do it. I'm two-handed, what do I know? But and then whenever he gets to the bottom, like, it's just, whenever he releases, it's just a nice, like, feathering it, as I guess we call it. Like, it's real.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was like,
I've
it's
seen
real.
enough of him to know.
It's real smooth. It's real good, and like, there's a reason why he's won 10 majors. Like, and because he's really good at hooking the lane, and even though he doesn't have the greatest rev rate in the world compared to us two-handers, he could still get it done. And like, he just recently retired from the big tour, but he's going to be bowling the senior tour, the PBA 50, and he's still going to kick butt out there. It's crazy. And I'll even throw somebody else in there, like Parker Bund III. The guy is a robot. Like, his style has not changed.
He means that in a good way, Parker.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. And robot. His style has not changed.
It's crazy.
Forever.
Yeah, I remember, because we were watching a classic one on YouTube for something. I don't remember what it was, and he was in the stepladder, and I remember looking at him like, it's the same motion. Like,
yeah.
If 30 years later.
I was like, from the 80s to now, it's literally the same, and it's crazy how it can just stay the same. And like, there are times, like, even for us young guys, like, it's really not saying that you're old, Parker, but even for us young guys, it's we still have to change something every now and then. I don't see anything that he's changed in 30 years.
Ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. And Pete Weber and Parker have both had the same kind of style for their whatever 40 years that they've been doing this, and it's crazy. So yeah.
Well, who do you think you are? Saying that sort of. Sorry,
Yeah.
I couldn't resist. Everybody has to throw it.
Who do you think you are? I am. Yes.
All right, folks. Well, that is the Trip 4. If you have questions that you want to ask Trevor, certainly ask him, not me. I'll just be the one relaying them.
I'm sure I'll have an answer.
You can send them to right here, the trip4podcast@gmail.com. Comment under the video. Go on the Facebook and Instagram page for Trevor Ashby's athlete page. We will be posting these sorts of things, plus other things that you won't find on the Trip 4. We got to, mix it up a little bit. But like, subscribe, do all of that sort of stuff.
More trendy things.
Yeah. He's going to teach me, you're going to learn, or you're going to, at least learn about the newest Storm SPI products, and just what it's like for someone making the transition from the youth tour to the PBA tour. We've still got more of the season to go, so we'll see what comes in the next few weeks. There's March is going to be a big month. We'll talk a little bit more about that maybe in the next episode. But
it's a big event.
Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the lanes. Trip some fours.